Hi, I'm Spencer Krause. I've been building robots for over 20 years. In that time, I've seen a lot of interesting things, and I've heard a lot of interesting stories. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is a place where my colleagues and I can relax, crack a drink, and talk about some of the crazier things we've seen at work and some of the experiences we've had that have gotten us to where we are today. Subscribe today to join the collaboration. Welcome to the Collaborative Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Krause. Our guest today is the Greek Gadget Guru, also known as Pavlos Kyros. Pavlos, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Thanks for being on, my guy. It's been a while. We've been through a lot together. You've since gotten a degree. You've started doing engineering work at Hellbender, which is a sweet company that I like quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like what's new with you? Like, how's it all been from your perspective?
Well, since I started there about 2 years ago, it's been really good. What was interesting because I think I mentioned this last time. I really botched my first interaction with the CEO of the company at a job fair by just skipping the line unintentionally. And
He did tell me that.
yeah, yeah. So that was funny because he just looked at me like, "Wait your turn," and then I never went back to that.
Yeah,
booth.
it's something Brian would do.
Yeah, and then 2 years later, they hired me. So that was, it was probably less than a year, but still, I was first.
So how did you overcome that? Like, how did you get back in Brian's good graces? Did you just kind of work up
I don't
the courage
think
to go back?
I think he knew that I was embarrassed. I think he kind of read the room in that situation, and I don't know, LinkedIn, and like going to robotics expos and just going to their booth, and I don't know. I mean, I genuinely like what they do. I think circuit boards and embedded systems is really fascinating, and it's just a great time to be alive with all these AI tools where I feel like creatives kind of have an outlet for the technical aspect of things, because before the dawn of AI for coding, you had all these coding boot camps, and now
Those are totally dead. Like, I haven't heard a peep from any of them. All those people are vibe coding now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been nice to just be able to take advantage of the resources that are available. And when I first started at Hellbender, it started off as was supposed to be a 90-day internship, and then 2 months, actually it was like almost like a month and a half in, they needed someone to go to the Philippines to help with the installation of some of the units that one of their customers rather had.
Wait, the Philippines?
Yeah. So they sent me, they're these giant metal boxes, and I probably had close to 500 pounds, not 500 pounds, but it was like close to $2,000 of extra baggage fees. That, was
How
great.
much do you think it actually weighed? Like, did you have just a giant crate, or like what were you carrying?
Yeah, there were like two or three giant Pelican cases. A couple of guys picked me up in their truck, and we drove to the hotel. And like the first question that the guy asked me was like, "You ever see National Geographic?"
Wait, which guy asked you this?
So the team was made up of a lot of people from the military because they're all working overseas. The one guy was there for over almost 2 years, and he thought it was going to be like 6 months. So he kind of met the locals, met the people in the Coast Guard, and was able to convince them to listen into their pitch for how they could implement their product.
So the Coast Guard's the client in this case.
Yeah. So it's basically like a security camera that is connected to Starlink that is specifically for patrolling and monitoring boats.
So these fixed, or are they mounted on boats, or how do they work?
Yeah, they're usually on some sort of gimbal, and so you have the ability. The Coast Guard, when we showed it to them, their general or whatever was really excited because there was all this tension between the Philippines and China and certain areas. And I guess there was earlier in that, before I went there, about 2 or 3 months earlier, the Chinese, like, there was this standoff, and they just blasted each other with these massive water cannons that would, like, strip the paint off the boat. So, like, no one wants to, and then when we got to the actual boat, we were debating whether or not we were actually going to take it out and, um, you know, go around on the waters. And they went into the forest and found bamboo,
Huh.
like poles, and they were cutting them into clubs, like, so that they could use them for self-defense, because if anyone pulls out a gun and, like, pulls the trigger, it could start a war. So, like, water cannons, you're good. Bamboo clubs, you're good.
You can just beat the other guy up with a bamboo
I guess.
club?
I don't know. I mean, they were
You
serious.
just can't shoot him.
They came back with coconuts and bamboo.
Wait, so they're fucking fighting each other, but they're not, like, technically at war. They're not killing each other.
Yeah, it's like most of their, like, a big part of their economy is fishing, and so that allows for a lot of stuff to potentially be shipped in and out illegally under the guise of, oh, we're just a fisherman. So it's kind of like a security cam system that, it's funny because, like, the pitch was like, oh, everyone over there loves soccer. So if you have Starlink, then you can monitor them, and the fishermen will just say, yeah, sure, you're going to give me, like, free cable or, like, free Wi-Fi on my boat in the middle of nowhere. Like, I can watch soccer games. So, like, there's this trade-off of, like, oh, now we're selling your live feed to whoever.
But you get to watch soccer games.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That was very eye-opening. And it was kind of my first, I don't know anyone that really travels alone necessarily, but unless it's for work. But this was, like, my first kind of departure from coming out of school, finally getting a job or an internship. And then, well, they pretty much said, if you go, we'll hire you. So that's how it went.
They said if you get your degree, we'll hire you?
Yeah.
Nice.
No. If you go to the Philippines, we'll just forget your internship. We'll just hire you.
Oh, that's awesome. So that was like your, ride or die
It's
moment.
like, okay, give me a job. I'll go. So I was there I just got a puppy, like, 2 days before I left. And when I came back, it was twice the size. They grow
wow.
so fast.
That's brutal.
So, yeah, that was a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome. I'm jealous. I haven't been to the Philippines yet.
Yeah. We didn't really get to go to any beaches or anything because, it was still a work trip, but we drove about 5 hours from pretty much end to end of the island and went to this area in the middle of nowhere. It was really funny. I thought the guy was, so the one guy, the one that I mentioned went there early to sort of talk to people and become acquainted with the locals. His superpower, or what he brings to the table, is he's just the fun time. And when we got on this boat, and they made us food, and we're eating the food off of, so that's this giant, they put a garbage bag over the table, and then they just put a giant bed of rice.
That sounds
and then
amazing.
they put,
Wait, did you write on the garbage bag?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then you eat it with your hands.
That sounds delicious.
Okay. And then they insisted that we took a shot with them. So we're like, all right, these are sailors, so things got, like, a little out of hand.
But, like, how many, you just got drunk with these guys?
Yeah, it was almost,
sounds fun.
It was almost an insult if we didn't.
We're getting drunk right now.
Yeah. And we're in the middle of the jungle, and we realized that it was going to take us, so because it was a 5-hour drive, we didn't want to come back the next day, so we stayed in this inn, which was like a bodega on stilt.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so you're
like a bodega, like a shop, like you see in New York, or like
no.
What's the bodega in this context?
Bamboo, like, I would say 4x4 by maybe you could stand, so maybe like 6 foot.
Like feet? Okay, so you've got like this little platform.
Yeah, and then bamboo stairs, and it's just like on stilts.
And it's just big enough to like sleep in, and that's it.
Just big enough for you to have like a yoga mattress or like a yoga mat. It was probably a little bigger than 4x4, but no AC, everything wearing off solar. And so when the batteries died, the fan died, and you just enjoyed your night. No running water. They had showers, there was running water, but there was no plumbing. So you can, use your imagination. That was interesting the next morning. But one guy, he stayed up the entire night because we didn't realize that there's saltwater crocodiles very close to where we were. And so you'd walk like 10, 20 feet from where these bodegas, I don't know what they're not called.
I can call them bodegas. That's what they are. I mean, like
there's a word for them, but
little houses.
They'll come to me. And yeah, you go.
That's not what I thought you meant by bodega at all.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so saltwater crocodiles. This guy is terrified.
Yeah, he stayed up all night, and so that we wouldn't drunkenly.
Oh, this was like a Filipino guy that stayed watch.
No, this is a guy on our team who knows that this is a danger, and he was there he was just the guy on the trip who, he was the guy who reached out to people who were, this is to my understanding, so, reached out to these guys, because they had this little, so it was the Coast Guard, and they had this little base. There's no running water on the base, so you can't flush a toilet. Can't even wash your hands. He went there months earlier to sort of establish himself and find out he's just the guy who networks.
Yeah.
And also was on the night patrol to make sure that we don't get eaten by saltwater crocodiles.
Yeah, yes, that makes sense.
So, I don't know.
Everybody's drunk. Don't walk in the water.
Yeah.
And get eaten by a saltwater crocodile.
Yeah.
This is our public service announcement. Don't get eaten by a saltwater crocodile.
Yes. They are very mean.
Did you know that Collaborative with Spencer Krause now has a merch store? Please go to cwskmerch.com for the latest in CWSK styles. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, hell, we've even got whiskey glasses. Everything in the store has custom art that our team worked really, really hard on, so go ahead and show your support for them, me, and the rest of the CWSK team by going to cwskmerch.com today. Better yet, support yourself and use discount code PODCAST10, all one word, all uppercase, for 10% off your entire order. Thanks for your support and enjoy the rest of the show. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com. So you built up a pretty big presence on YouTube, and I feel like it's weird to like see you just like full in systems engineer.
Yeah.
Like just doing badass things with Hellbender. Like, what made you kind of pivot in that direction?
Well, YouTube was kind of the Wild West. I think that they did a lot of funding to sort of bring on a new wave of talent. And if you don't have a team to be able to reach out to sponsors and video edit, and my content isn't like I'm just going and reviewing new headphones or new microphone or something. It's creating something brand new. It's really difficult to come up with something and wear that many hats, and it's very easy to get burned out.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And in so before I did all this, even while I was doing YouTube, I was a dental hygienist. So my dad's a dentist, and I went pre-dental route, got my certificate in pre-dental dental hygiene, worked as a dental hygienist, and then the pandemic hits. And the pandemic, I had the number one worst job. Like exposure time, number of people, proximity, you name it. Like dental hygienist was the number one worst job. And I feel like, I could not work if I wanted to. So I started taking classes at CCAC just because I'm getting into my 30s at the time. And it just I needed to make either a move of some sort to, progress myself. So I started taking these classes, and I started realizing that I can do this. I think
Nice.
so. I think there was a lot of people in there, a lot of kids in high school worried about, are really good at building stuff, and it's unfortunate that all these test scores get in the way of. You might be a genius creatively, but and then by that I mean to come up with unique ideas. I feel like there's a lot of rehashing of new ideas and optimization of ideas, but to come up with something really unique
Yeah.
and be an innovator in that field is where creativity comes into play and thinking outside the box. So when we talk about all these different electronics and different types of inductors and magnetic fields, that is really kind of where that creativity comes into place, comes into play. And what's interesting is the more versed you are in the traditional, textbook electronics, the less receptive you are to this. So it was almost like a necessary trial to go through, just DIYing everything and just kind of going off of intuition, and then to go into the actual field of engineering, and also just in school, and see that there's so many things that aren't really explored when it comes to that. I don't know.
Yeah, for
Creative.
sure.
I feel like that wasn't answering your question,
No,
but
it's
like,
all good. It's interesting. I mean, that was my journey too, right? Like I
yeah, yeah,
started as a hobbyist and became an engineer.
yeah. I mean, nowadays you have AI, all these different, ChatGPT and Claude and whatever. Creatives have the ability to where there's not an obstruction of them being able to decode something. It's just, can you take the time to flesh it out and explain it, and just kind of brute force it until something works. And I feel like that there's definitely some sort of skill set and a system that I've come up with as far as how to use some of these AI agents, and it's been really helpful. We recently um, just got like a Claude account for business for Hellbender, and that's been nice to like kind of be able to actually use some of those skills because I had to apply them to these projects. Um, it's a really interesting time to be alive for creative people. So I feel like if you're a creative, there's always the caveat of like, oh, well, now people who are hand drawing art aren't going to get as much, you know, attention. But I think that there's somewhere the human mind is able to pick out what's good quality and what's not. And
Sure.
I don't think that AI is able to really come up with truly unique ideas. And so still think that like the human element of creativity is necessary. AI is just not there yet. But whenever I was, the transition from going from a YouTuber slash part-time dental hygienist to an engineer who works full time, I don't know what to do with my hours. And like I went undergrad and then worked while doing YouTube, and then I went back to school. So it's just
So you
been,
just have way more time.
yeah. And I come home and I just hit the ground running and just work on these projects.
That's
And
awesome.
I recently had one of my buddies from work. He came over for like a get together or something, and he was driving like 50 minutes to commute to Hellbender, and then it was just a lot to be. And he had never lived out of the house. He's 25, and I remember what that was like. I was doing YouTube videos, living at my parents' house, and it definitely got difficult at times because you see all these people who are having fun, just working a regular 9 to 5, and then you're trying to build something unique and inspire people in some way to think outside the box. And it became really challenging to live with that, where you feel like you look back and you're like, well, what do I really have here? I think that's the story for a lot of like startups, and unfortunately a lot of them don't make it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But there is there's a lot of information that I feel like doing YouTube even while I was in school, the project aspect of being a student and being able to build stuff, I feel like is really under. It doesn't get enough credit.
Sure.
The ability to not just follow an assignment, but to also come up with unique ways to isolate problems and solve them, and keep building off of that, is really core to a lot of these projects, and being able to build something that functions at the end of the day. I think that's overlooked a lot of times when it comes to applying for schools and jobs, even jobs. It's where do you put your portfolio? Maybe it's a link, but it really doesn't get a lot of credit if it's something that isn't backed by, I did research at a university or whatever.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think if you don't think like Hellbender appreciated seeing your portfolio of all the projects you've done.
Well, so what I did was interesting. So I had my undergraduate, all the research, and then I had a second page that was like a one paragraph of like 3 different projects that I feel like really were some of my best work. And a lot of times with like all these AI job search, so people who are looking to hire, a lot of times they're using these different tools for going through different resumes, because they have maybe thousands of people who are applying, and they don't look at anything more than the first page a lot of times, so you don't really can't put that into words, the project aspect of it. So it doesn't translate as well academically to say, I built this, or I don't know. I feel like that's what helped me stand out, and it's.
That's what I look for when I interview somebody for a job. Is I look for their portfolio and the stuff they've built, and seeing the passion.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like that when you're applying online, that's a lot different than talking to someone in person.
I don't think Brian and I are all that different, though. Like, I imagine that probably helped you get hired at Hellbender.
Yeah, there was a project, engineering student design expo. So it was like the best of all the senior design, junior design projects, and there was like a little science fair. And Brian just like emerged from the crowd and was like, "Hey, how'd you like to be an intern at Hellbender this summer?" And that was it. So
nice. And he knew you because you kept trying to get a hold of him, so he just popped out and was like, "Ready."
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I have a couple of other projects here on the table.
Oh yeah, I would love to see these gadgets.
Oh yeah, how did they get there?
What's all that stuff?
Yeah. So I got a new printer recently, and there's some of these like print in place, different stuff. So this is like, I actually brought this to the Philippines with me.
Are those Nipex pliers?
Yeah. So
nice.
Nipex, Wera, and this is a really cool.
You printed that? That's sweet. Those are all really nice tools.
Yeah.
I've never seen like the tiny boy Nipex channel locks. Those are cool.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that that Wera tool got me through most of the Philippines.
Yeah, I was like looking at this, and I'm like, where did you find a kit that had Nipex and Wera both? And you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Well, the reason I'm showing this is because this is actually a multimeter. So you set your so that you can see that LED's flashing. So if you were to stick continuity between these two, if you had a battery, it blinks. So like if it blinks green, it's a 1.
Is it just continuity, or does it do other stuff too?
It does temperature, it does voltage, it does amperage. There's like
I was thinking you could put that across that.
Yeah, you need a battery or something.
The coding, yeah.
That was pretty cool to just have like a tool built into.
How does it show you voltage? Like, where's the readout?
It blinks. So it's a RGB, I don't know, and it's 3 different color LEDs.
You can indicate a number for voltage with the tricolor LED?
Yeah, so I think it's like green.
Telling you in Morse code?
It's like a decimal place. So green is like 0.1, yellow is like 1 point, and then red is 10.
Oh, so if you feed it like 70 volts, it's going to die.
If you fed it 70 volts, it would blink red 3 times.
Oh, interesting. So how does that work?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
This is just a product that I bought, and it's sold on this weird website that like doesn't seem like it should even be part of their actual product line. It's,
That is very weird. Yeah, I love it. That's the nerdiest thing I've ever seen.
yeah. So I'm always trying. I feel like
Do you find yourself using that like in the field?
the
multimeter.
no, but I like it because I have it,
Nice.
and it's rechargeable too. Pretty sure I turned it off. Yeah. What else? This is recently. Oh no.
Oh no.
I have to sit still. That's a problem.
I'm not very good at it either. It's taken a lot of patience and practice.
Yeah, so this is just a robot that I kind of built recently. This blue filament's actually glow in the dark. And
What are the pincers for?
there's magnets on them, so like
Oh,
if you
that's pretty
drop
cool.
a screw under your workbench or something, it's got a
Is this just running a Pi, or what's this powered by?
so this company, so Bamboo Labs has this thing called Cyberbrick, which is kind of their product to allow people to kind of gain entry into robotics. And there's a lot of contests and really cool files that are easy to print. And then they have like basically a store that you can just buy kits. So if you have the printer, you just buy the kit, install everything. This is actually a glove that is supposed to be a controller, and these are completely different designs. They were designed by different creators, so I haven't gotten the settings dialed in yet. But essentially,
What's that microcontroller called again? I haven't seen one of those
each
in a
one
while.
of these, the microcontroller.
Yeah, just the one on your wrist. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you
you're
off there.
good. It's called Cyberbee.
That's a
Oh, no,
Cyber Bee?
Cyberbrick. Sorry.
Cyber Brick. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is it this? So this is also a Cyber Brick. These both are.
So Cyberbrick is just this thing, and there's just
But you're running a Cyber Brick in this as well.
yes.
Nice.
So one of them, you can configure them through an app, and this is just gonna start.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So basically, you've got a pulley system, and each finger is a different. So you have 5 different channels of control here. You've got basically 2 joysticks, and then your pinky finger.
Nice.
Originally, when you press this down, it would drive forward, and then when you let it go, it would drive backwards. But this is actually just for 3 controls. So these are not super compatible with each other, at least at this point. This is kind of my entry into FPV drones, FPV robots. When I saw this, I think I immediately put it in the cart, and it's been sitting on a shelf for a while. And then just recently wanted to build this robot and thought, I could just build the regular controller with joysticks, but this would be something cool to, I don't know, play around with, and it's a good conversation piece.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Uses the PLA that works with the bamboo, so it's pretty flexible, and there's like 2 parts. So there's like a glove part, and then these are just made out of that PLA.
So it's just all
TPU.
PLA. Or
This
TPU.
is TPU, and then these are PLA that glows in the dark.
Nice.
So
But it's like everything can be FDM'd on it.
yeah.
That's sweet.
So I was looking in the comments of this, and no one has complained that it doesn't work. As in, I don't know. This is supposed to be. There's a lot of customization that can take place in the app and whatnot. For being able to pair this thing, but right now it's totally confused because I'm feeding 5 channels, a 5-channel controller to something that only takes 3 channels.
Huh.
So,
It's all good.
have to post an update or something.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's sweet.
This next one here is a Raspberry Pi with this little screen that has a microphone, and it's got this thing, this PCIe card, the slot that typically would just have like an solid state drive. This one is it's called the LLM 8850, I think.
Huh, that's sweet.
So you've heard of the Halo 8, and I think there's another one called Coral that Google put out, and they're using the PCIe slot on these Pis so that they can offload some of the computational work on the Pi for a specific piece of hardware that's geared specifically towards the LLM functionality. So if you press this button, hello, I'm on a podcast. What should we talk about?
That is a great question. On the podcast, the best approach is to keep the conversation open and engaging. Here are a few suggestions for what we could have talked about.
Shut up.
I mean, that's pretty amazing, though, that that's able to exist just on Edge.
Yeah. So there's no internet connection whatsoever. It's doing all the computation on here. I think it's a 16 gigabyte RAM.
That's it.
There's 16 gigs of RAM on the Pi, and I think like another 4 or another 8.
What am I saying? That's it. I mean, that's a decent amount for a Pi.
Yeah, I feel like a Raspberry Pi. That's as
crazy.
high as it goes.
Not up that high, yeah.
But like a laptop.
But I mean, even like, what did today's laptops have? I guess I just bought one, but I can't remember. I feel like it was that.
Would you like to talk to it? So you just press the button, hold it, and then you can talk.
Hey there, I'm Spencer Krause.
Spencer Krause. Tres great to meet you. I am glad you are on the podcast to let us make Richard fun and engaging a conversation. What would you like to talk about? Are you working on a specific project? Or do you want to explore some interesting topics?
What's your opinion of LLMs?
That is a great question.
Look at me.
Interested in what you think about a larger language models, especially as they're becoming more powerful and widely used in various fields. Here is my take. What I think about 1. Power and potential. Done incredibly powerful. A can generate a text, understand the complex concepts, and even engage in conversations that feel natural and
When are you from?
I am from New York City, but I am based in San Francisco now. I am your podcaster, content creator, and a digital marketer who is always curious about it.
You're a liar.
I am sorry if I came across as untrustworthy. I am your podcast.
So yeah, it could be fun. I mean,
Huh?
the
And a digital marketer who is passionate about sharing insights.
I think it's pretty cool. It could be a little bit annoying. I'm trying to expand on this. I mean, you just have one. Shut up. Stop talking.
What would you like to discuss? I am sorry, but I can take
Dad.
That's all good.
Yeah, so it's like,
That's really cool, though.
yeah, it's a proof of concept of edge computing with these LLMs, and typically you need some sort of graphics card, but the market's just coming up with solutions in these PCIe formats, and
So does this have a little graphics card in it?
No, it says LOM 8850 is basically like offloading. It's hardware that is specifically
Designed to run
designed to
LLMs.
run LLMs.
That's cool.
So
So does it have like it's just a Halo 8 and like a
No,
16 gigabytes of RAM?
no, it's the LLM 8850.
Is it its own chip?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
it's got a little. Here, I'll show you.
So there's like an ASIC.
So this is pretty much what's inside of there, and I'm trying to expand on this personally. So this is essentially what's inside of there. So this is the LLM 8850 with a heatsink and a tiny little fan, which just be careful with those.
Sure.
So right now I'm trying to get like put together a sort of deployable node that has a camera and a Wi-Fi connectivity, and then also LoRa. So you'd be able to, with this microcontroller here, it's ESP32S3. So this is pretty cool. It's got a camera, a micro SD card, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and if I expand it, it'll have LoRa. So the idea is that you'd be able to put these around your campsite, or if you live in like a remote area, or maybe you don't have, it wouldn't be very easy for you to set up, have access to power. These run really low power. It would do the machine learning object detection on the device, and then just ping a very low power, long range signal back to a base station, where instead of this just rattling off about how it's a content creator in California, it would like say, hey, there's a bear coming, like you should prepare yourselves or hide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of like every superhero or secret agent has that guy in the chair. So this is like your guy in the chair, but it's just this robot AI.
That's sweet.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to.
And the guy in the chair's got cameras scattered around your site, and so the guy in the chair knows what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
what's like the antennas are interesting that you're using. Like I'm seeing like one big one and one little one on both those things.
Yeah. So this is all put together from kits and stuff you can find online. But you've got a this is GPS, this is LoRa, and then actually this is Wi-Fi, and then this is LoRa. So
wait, which is Wi-Fi, which is LoRa? So the one that's you're holding in your hand.
Yeah, this little squib one is just kind of doesn't have very long range, but it works for just depth.
Is that the LoRa?
Testing. Yeah, this is the LoRa.
Cool.
So LoRa can act, I think, line of sight up to 10 kilometers, and it like on a coin cell battery, it would last like weeks.
Huh, that's awesome.
So it's very low power, and I learned a lot about it. And like any project that I did in school where I had to do like a report and do some deep research, so I don't know, LoRa just seemed really fascinating because my original research was in energy harvesting, and so then that kind of snowballed into, well, how low power can we go when it comes to signals and running these microcontrollers? So
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Like what's the total current draw of that system?
What, the ESP32 or just
no, like the that entire stack you're holding in your hand.
I feel like the last time I looked at it, it was I'm gonna totally botch this. I thought it was like 40 milliamps or something.
Really? At what voltage?
5 or 3.3.
Huh. That's insanely low.
Yeah. It was like 10 times lower than the other camera that we were looking at. So it's plausible to be able to have, like, with a battery pack of this size, it would last months. As long as it's not constantly streaming. But if it's like a lot of things, LoRa is primarily used in a lot of Internet of Things type of connections. So actually the the cameras that went on the water would geolocate each other using LoRa.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
So it's really helpful for these types of mesh networks. So the main one that uses LoRa is called Meshtastic. So essentially it's like a peer-to-peer node, but you don't have access to everyone's chats, obviously, but you can ping off of somebody who's just walking down a trail, you know? So you could set this up in a national park, and you would always have connection to, you know, some sort of, if you didn't have cell phone connection, you would have connection with this. So there's a safety aspect to it. And then actually a lot of companies, there's a few companies that are using LoRa for people at music festivals, because typically you have so many people in an area that the bandwidth is so low that you can't even make a phone call or send a text. So there's like this little compass that has LoRa, and it's able to triangulate with everyone in your group. So you can just follow that ping and find your group of friends. Because typically if you go to like a big music festival, you lose your friends, or there's, you know, 10,000 plus people at a lot of these events. And
That's pretty cool. So you've got like a friend compass.
yeah, exactly. It's like find my friends without any
Internet.
Wi-Fi connection or
Sweet.
cellular. So yeah, that's what's inside there. What else do we have here? So with the energy harvesting stuff, we'll save the best for last. I started looking into this one circuit called a joule thief. So it's an oscillating circuit that uses, so inductors want to keep the current the same, and capacitors want to keep the voltage the same. So like if you have a primary and a secondary, and you induce on the primary, then the secondary is going to induce in the opposite direction. So if your coil, this has a lot to do with right-hand rule. So if you have the right-hand rule of electricity going through the wire, your primary and your secondary is going to receive that like a 1-to-1 transformer. And
Primary and secondary coils.
yeah, exactly. So what it's able to do is it utilizes the magnetic field of the primary and the secondary of this inductor to pull power out of batteries that would otherwise be dead.
Huh.
And then so that you have this voltage spike, and this there's like a lot of videos on YouTube that explain this way better than me, because it's still pretty interesting. But it's not, the circuit itself is not used very widely. But like, so a lot of your batteries and your electronics have this threshold. They need at least, like most regular batteries are 1.5 volts, right? So if you go below that threshold, then the batteries aren't dead. It's like having a bucket and there's a hole drilled in the side of it. The water's just at that hole, right? It's going to drain to that point, but there's still a lot of water in the bucket, and we just throw away those batteries. Somehow this circuit is able to just pull that power out. So you completely drain the batteries, and then you hook that up to a capacitor. And so you're charging the capacitor, and there's this sort of back and forth between the inductor, which doesn't want the current to change, and the voltage doesn't want to change. And so they're kind of, the capacitor and the inductors are fighting, and you get this voltage boost.
Huh.
Yeah. I think that's a really bad way of describing it, but it's an oscillating circuit, and
That's interesting.
I'm still scarred from signals and systems and stuff from undergrad.
Can we try it out, or is there nothing we can charge it with here?
This is just a sort of spin-off of inductors in general. So one of the things is inductors really haven't changed in the last 100 years, specifically the winding angle. But I wanted to see if I could 3D print my own inductors, so that I could create these different shapes and these different winds that would have interesting results. So this is a magnet it's a little pen that, you would expect. It works as you would expect it. So it's attracted, and then it repels. And then if you put this on there, which is the 3D printed one, it will attract, and then it will initially, it will also attract.
That's pretty cool.
Now, if you were to have opposite polarity of the magnetic material or one of these things, so it attracts on this side like you would expect, and then actually attracts to this, and then this initially repels because it's going onto the positive to positive, or north to north, whatever, and then when you bring this close enough, it just clicks.
Because it's up against the other pole that's on the other side.
So I think what it is so if I was to take this magnet, so you're kind of have to see it for yourself, but so what I think's going on, so it's clearly repelling until you. So I think you have basically, if you were to think of this as the North Pole, and the North Poles of both these are repelling each other.
So you think it's the adjacent magnet that's got,
I think that this material is, so it's got iron in it, and it's amorphous in a sense where the magnetic field and those, I guess, tiny iron filings, this is all my theory of how it works, is that they're able to realign themselves to accommodate that magnetic field. And so if you were to implement that into an inductor, then, I mean, most of the time your inductors are heating up. This is a great podcast to answer, to like talk about things that I might sound like a total amateur on. And, but there's something within these electronics, and specifically the ferrite cores, that's called permissivity and coercivity, I think it is actually. And it's how easily is the magnetic field able to accept a magnetic field or repel the magnetic field. So in some sense, like the ferrite core is acting to repel the magnetic field. So you have the wire going around the ferrite core, magnetic field expands, and then because of the ferrous material of the core itself, it collapses. And so you kind of have this beating heart, more or less. That's the way I think of it when I think of an inductor. And that collapsing and expanding and collapsing of that magnetic field, it causes your electronics to overheat. So like, in most of our electronics, we're using semiconductors, but this is kind of the idea with this is, like, if this was a circuit and now the circuit's closed, you're not using any sort of semiconductors to hold that in place. But if you were to bring another magnetic field to it, then it's able to be released. So it's kind of like spintronics in a sense, where you're using the chirality of the magnetic fields to do really interesting things with the electronics. It's so challenging because I was like obsessed with it a year or so ago, and everyone that I would talk to is just always met by like, I had one person tell me, if it's that big of a deal, then someone would have already invented it. And I'm like, why are you an engineer? Why are you in this field? And then I think he went to med school, which is probably a good fit for him, because you really can't be creative in medical unless you want to lose your license or something. So, like, this idea of power and electronics is that all of our, like, right now we're dealing with it a lot with all the AI, is that you have a lot of power and that's demanded for these types of applications, for them to be able to run these data centers. And a lot of that is, I think, like 40% of the power from data centers is just from
heat,
from cooling.
Yeah.
And there's a company in California that I feel like I have in some a pretty good understanding of what they're doing, but they're able to recycle the noise, the harmonics that are coming off of all of these electronics and data centers.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
So they're getting like 20% efficiency on.
Wait, like a 20% efficiency gain?
Yeah, so power.
I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
Power factor is the issue. I feel like in our, like from a consumer standpoint, you flip on the switch and you're paying for $100, let's say, of power a month. You're only getting 75% of it realistically. So and that comes from the power factor. So anytime the only types of electronics that are really perfect power are resistive. So you have like Edison light bulbs.
Yeah.
But
is that just like a shitload of resistance?
I don't know. It's like I was not the greatest student, but there's leading and lagging power. And if your voltage is leading or lagging your amperage, and if they're firing at the same rate, then you have perfect power. And I think the best way to describe it is if you had a pendulum and you're pushing, or maybe you're on a swing and you're pushing this thing on a pendulum on a swing, it's a lot easier to push the pendulum when it's at its peak and it's just about to go back down.
Yeah.
Than it is to try and push it while it's
on its way out.
On its way up. And all of our electronics are just constantly pushing on. It's not. Your perfect power is where you have that perfect pendulum swing. A lot of our electronics does not do that. And so you have this 20% efficiency that's being lost, or more like 25 to 30. That is our electronics, because there's so many on the grid and they're putting all these different signals, that it just gets kind of mucked up in what they call harmonics. In the U.S., our neutral and our ground to the earth, I think, are fused at the panel. So all those harmonics and stuff just go to the earth ground, because the power companies don't want to deal with any of this, because it's just like, I don't know, if you get water coming in your power, they're not going to want to combine your sewage with your fresh water coming in. You know what I mean? So this company has figured out a way to recycle that using some of these really interesting inductors.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah. But it's also very it's challenging, because it's just so far out of what a lot of people are doing right now that you're met with a lot of pushback. It's either, like the best way to put it is, people would just think it wouldn't be you. If it's that big of a deal, someone would have already come up with it. And that's very defeating. And it would take a lot of money to be able to actually prove this, because mainstream electronics and electrical engineering, this is like telling them that the earth is flat.
Huh.
But they're doing it. And instead of going, like, all the people that have come before this company, they would go to universities and they'd get ridiculed, and they just lose their credibility. And then they're just going straight to these Bitcoin miners and data centers, and they're like, oh, you have a $5 million a month power bill? We'll save you 20%, and we want like 5% of that. So they're thinking, okay, cool, you're going to save me 15%, and $5 million, let's say it's $1 million. 5% of that is
50 grand.
50 grand. So if you had multiple data centers, you're making like $100,000, at least $50,000 a month, just because you installed this thing, and they're happy because they're saving power, and you're happy because you're getting this kickback.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like a win-win. All right. Well, sweet. Awesome gadgets. Awesome hearing about the Philippines. Now I know what Pog is. Dude, yeah, this has been a fun up. Is there anything you want to plug as we kind of near the end?
Plug?
Yeah, like tell people to like look at, buy, Dogecoin or spay and neuter your dogs.
Stay creative.
Stay creative,
be
folks.
creative people.
Be creative,
Don't
people.
be afraid of AI.
AI is your friend. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Thanks for coming on. And, welcome back to the Collaborative Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. If you've made it this far, chances are you'll like other episodes too. Collaborative with Spencer Krause can be found on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Subscribe today to get notified when the latest episodes release and support the channel. Have an idea for a guest I should interview? Hop in the comments and let me know who that is. I'm always looking for new people to talk to, and chances are you know folks that I don't yet. Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you on the next one. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com.